Call this meeting to order. All right. First thing, we have any visitors sign up? Speak. All right. Public hearing. Public hearing to receive comments from public concerns, a request for variance on the rear setback requirements on lots 4 through 8 and lots 16 through 21, block 11 in the proposed Feather Ridge Phase 3 subdivision.
Mr. Chairman, on each one of these public hearings, you want me to just summarize what it is real quick so people will
Yeah,
know?
if you will, please.
Okay, this first one is Feather Ridge, which is back here, Phase 3, and the variance on the rear setback is what they're asking is from 25 to 15, and it's just the cul-de-sac lots. The lots that are in the cul-de-sac only is what they're asking for, which is what they asked for in Phase 1 and 2 as well.
Any comment? All right, item number 2, public hearing to receive comments from the public concerning a request for variance on the rear setback requirements on all residential lots in the proposed Encino Crossing subdivision.
Okay, this one is a development across the street that runs all the way to the canal. And on those lots, they're asking for a variance from 25 to 15 on all of the lots, not just the cul-de-sac lots, but every lot in the subdivision. So that's what they're asking for in that one.
Any comments?
Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Noe Guerrero. I represent the developer. Don't think Steve connected? No? Okay, he was going to present, but what we have here is regarding the setbacks. We know that looking at the design itself, it's almost impossible to go ahead and build something that's a 3-bedroom with ample space on these lots, more so on the cul-de-sac lots and on the ones on the elbow. I know in larger developments, it's kind of common to have the greater setbacks, but on the smaller developments, kind of like the one that we're seeing here in Encino Crossing, it's not uncommon to have lesser setbacks. Now, we don't have an issue, of course, with those sides and front setbacks. It's just the rear setbacks that we're looking for this variance on. This the Windcrest subdivision that we built just behind this development here has larger setbacks, but that one we were tailored more towards middle to higher income. The thought process here on this subdivision is more to a middle to lower income, and that's the reason why we have the smaller lots. So if you look at it on the design wise, it's difficult once again to establish a nice print with that large setback on the rear. And that's the reason why we're coming before the board for this variance. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer or field any questions, Mr. Chairman or Commissioners. Agenda item? Okay. Fair enough. I do have, I think the next one is, you need to present that or?
No more comments on item number 2. Number 3, public hearing to receive comments from the public concerning request for conditional use permit to allow duplex to be built on lots 1 through 38, block 1, lots 1 through 35, block 2, lots 1 through 19, block 3, lots 1 to 4, block 4 in the proposed Encino Crossing subdivision.
Yes, sir. Chairman and Commissioners, once again, this pertains to our development there. What we plan on doing is controlling where duplexes get built via deed restrictions. We don't have the intention of allowing somebody to come in and build a duplex lot here and build a residential house right next to it. So we want to have that controlled ability through the deed restrictions. The reason why we're asking for it on all phases is because the ones that we're allocating right now at this given time, if we see that works great for the city and works great for us, then we might just take another section and proceed, to do some more duplexes without having to come once again to the board to ask for that ability to do so. If any questions, I'd be happy to answer any. Chairman?
Have a motion? Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Consideration and action on to approve the final plat for Owl's Ranch subdivision.
Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, this is the final plat. Y'all approved the preliminary plat a few months ago. It was where mine went blank. What's the restaurant used to be? What's the restaurant it used to be? I can't remember.
Hungry Heifer?
Hungry Heifer. There you go. Thanks, Gil. Huh?
Owl's Ranch is the one out there on Stanford Road, isn't it?
I'm sorry. I'm completely messed up. Yeah, Al's Ranch is just across from IES, off of Stanford Road. So, man, I was way off.
Do we have a motion to approve that subdivision?
Now approve. Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay. Consider an action to reconsider approval of the conditional use permit to allow mobile home to locate at 410 West First Street, zoned R1A-A, single family district.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, if you'll
I'm sorry, I can't hear Mark.
when the council took it up, they appealed it to the city council, and the city council felt that instead of them making a decision, they would like this board to make that decision. And with a full board, with 7 people there, so that's why it's back on the agenda here. They asked for it to be there. If you'll recall, on First Street, it's the block between Nogal and Lopez Riggins Elementary, and there is about 5 trailer homes there and about 5 single family homes. Did you check again today, Robbie? Yeah. And if you'll recall from prior discussions, that area years ago was zoned single-family dwelling with the idea that one day the mobile homes would, as they need to be gone, they would replace with single-family. That hasn't happened. There's been some variances giving and conditional uses. And in fact, I was sharing with Robbie, I think this board denied a duplex a few months ago, and then they appealed it to city council, and the city council allowed a duplex, which is allowed with a conditional use. So I wanted to be sure all the facts are out there concerning that. And so it's up to you.
Was there a trailer there prior?
Yes, there is a trailer there, and you can see in the notes, it's pretty rough looking, and regardless of whether you're for a trailer coming back in or not, the trailer does look really good. The new one coming in, it's a 2018 model. And so it's very nice looking, and will be much better living conditions than what they have. If that makes sense.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second motion? All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye. Motion passes.
Yeah, 5-2. I assume Gil is affirmative or against, Gil?
No, yes,
I'm good. Okay.
All right, motion passes. Number 4, consider an action approved variance on the rear setback requirements for lots 4 through 8 and lots 16 through 21, block 11 in the proposed Feather Ridge Phase 3 subdivision.
If you're calling the public hearing, that is the one with back here behind us, south and to the east, that they're asking from a 25-foot rear setback to a 15 on the cul-de-sac lots, which I think are about 8 lots.
And Mark, did you say this was what they had asked for in 1 and 2?
Yes, sir. They asked and was granted by this board on 1 and 2 for those cul-de-sac lots only.
And so
Mark,
one question I have is that typical that we're seeing that on other subdivisions of this nature?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor to grant the variance?
Aye.
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 Consider an action to approve the preliminary plat for Feather Ridge Phase 3. Consider an action to approve the preliminary plat for Feather Ridge Phase 3.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, this is phase 3. They've already completed 2 phases and ready to start the 3rd one. Our engineers have looked at the preliminary plat and responded with questions, and changes have been made to meet our ordinance, as well as our staff has looked at it, and they've made all the changes that we have seen that needed to be changed to meet the ordinances.
I make a motion that we approve. Jackson?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Number 6, consider an action to approve a variance on rear setback compliance on all residential lots in the proposed Encino Crossing subdivision.
Do you have any questions on that one?
What would be the drawback to have to do this one?
Pardon me, Chairman, or, Commissioner?
Gil, he didn't hear you.
Yeah, I was asking what's the drawback on not doing this?
We've actually brought on board, an architect that is helping us with this design. And believe me, we're not trying to undermine anything that the city's doing, because we're trying to take like what we did a Winthrop subdivision and build a nice home just on a smaller scale. So we want to control that. So architect was telling us that with this 25 rear setback kind of limits our abilities of the design that we can do. So we're trying to have a good home for the middle income families. So, like they say, Joe the plumber has a chance of the American dream as well. We've seen that there's been some more developments that are being done, but they're on a larger scale. It seems like some developers have forgotten about this size a lot. So we're just trying to ask for those additional, would be that 10 feet, what we're looking at, so we could accommodate those families.
And as far as staff, we just look at it as a variance from the norm, which is 25. If the only drawback that I would see is when you look at the back end of one home, if it faces, because part of the subdivision would butt up against the commercial development of the mini storage, and then also the canal to the north, that it wouldn't really affect as much. But on the interior lots, when you're looking at a home, there's 15 feet to the property line and another 15 feet to the back of one home. So you have 30 feet to the back of a home instead of 50. So that's the only drawback I see, not from a city standpoint, but from a purchaser, I guess, would be. But as far as there's no utilities in the rear, or is there, Carlos? It's all in the front, so that wouldn't affect anything. You know of anything else, Carlos? Yes, sir.
The question I have is, with a lot of this small communities popping up all over the place, I'm not very knowledgeable of the floodplains around here. So with that in mind, once in a while we'll get a heavy duty rain and the streets are flooded, water gets up into the homes. What's the drainage going to be like?
We're still working through that. In fact, our engineers here with us. So we're still looking at our best options on how to drain that. We still own the rest of the 80 acres to the east of this property. And of course, at one point, plan to do something with that property as well. So we're taking into consideration of how we can handle that as well.
Looking at the drawings, wouldn't there be any room for building retention ponds or anything, just so that we, once in a while we'll get a heavy duty rain, or not even that, and the streets are backed up all over the place. So, I just,
When before they do the final, they will have to have the sign off of Cameron County Drainage District number 1. They're working with them right now on, there's different things they can do. Is it'll drain into the drainage ditch right here, basically, to our, to the west here just a little bit, and to the west of that subdivision. But they might require them to increase the size of the drain ditch, might require them to do detention, but something will be done before it gets to the final approval of the final plat. This is a preliminary so that they can begin working towards that.
Okay, because I've seen it, well, in the news and just driving around after a heavy rain, neighborhoods are flooded, and you've seen in channel 4 or 5 where people are complaining that why isn't the city or the county? Because what I'm really referring to is at the end, 2 or 3 years from now, the responsibility is going to fall upon the city or the county to fork out a ton of money to improve the drainage because the developers did the minimum.
Correct.
And that's not what I want. That's what I'm looking at.
No, and I completely understand. Everything we build, we pretty much own and operate. We won't build for anybody else. Of course, the houses there, we will sell, but as far as for the rest of the development, we're planning on doing the duplexes, that's something different. And Mr. Plaza can correct me if I'm mistaken, but we're also looking at the possibility of expanding the east ditch that we have within that property, or I guess adjacent to those 80 acres. So we're looking at those options. The last thing that we want is for it to flood. In fact, the mini storage that we built there, that's the reason why we elevated it so high, because we didn't want that area flooding on us. So we do take those things into consideration. Mr. Chairman and Commissioner. Bobby, I don't know if there's anything else.
Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Bobby Klosner. I'm the project engineer. Just to add to that, we are working with Cameron County Drainage District number 1, and potentially we will be widening that ditch in order to provide more storage, which would help with the rainfall that's going to be generated, or the runoff that's going to be generated by these developments. So we are coordinating with them, and we'll be taking care of that.
I have a question. Why do you need the variance on that? If y'all own the whole piece of property, why can't you just take more out of that property to make the subdivision a little bit larger to accommodate those extra 15 feet or those extra 10 feet?
We were looking at, and of course, we still have the rest of the 80 acres that we're thinking of how we're going to develop that as well. Like I said, we've invested very heavily right now in the city already, because we do believe in the vision that the city has. That's the reason why we built the mini storage, the Windcrest subdivision. And in this development in particular, we saw that there's a lot of developments that have the larger lots, but I think we're starting to miss some of the smaller developments where you can have your average median household income still build a nice house in a smaller print. And that's the reason why this particular subdivision was designed as such. So we weren't really aware until later on in the build a larger home, and in essence, it'll add more tax value to the city, more perpetual income. So I think that would work out good as well.
How many square feet are these homes roughly going to be?
Some of these designs, preliminary designs, Mr. Commissioner, they're running anywhere from about 1,500, 1,800 square feet. We're still looking at different options. Like I said, we have Stanford Knowles as an architect that's working on several of our designs. And that's one thing that he has just stressed on that rear setback, more so on the cul-de-sac and on that elbow that you all see. So hence, coming to the board for the variance.
I have a question on that too, as far as the backyard then, because that's a setback that you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
So how wide are these lots? How much is that backyard gonna be for these houses?
So we have a design of 60 by 100-foot lot, is that correct? So if you look at the print, that you've got 25 feet in the back, 25 feet in the front, and the front. So that only leaves you with 50 feet to work with, which is manageable. But as you can see, if you look at the actual cul-de-sac and in the that elbow lots that we call it, the space is very restricted. I've had Stanford, Mr. Knowles, looking at that, and he's finding a hard time trying to find something that's going to look nice. We could go in and build a box there, but once again, everything we build, we take pride in. So we're trying to look for that additional footage where it'll allow us that leeway to do so.
Another question. How wide are the streets?
The streets are as far as the streets go, it's 30 feet back to back. The actual right of way is 50 feet wide. It's a standard.
I have a question. Why, if you don't know the size of the home yet, you're saying 15 to 1800. Why are you requesting lesser rear?
Because our architect has seen several prints and he's got some nice prints that would fit in those additional 10 feet. Now, once again, we're still trying to, it's not that we're going to take them all up, because we still bear in mind that they want to have a backyard. So we're not trying to limit exactly how much depth we're going to have back there, but it just gives us more room to work with a better design. Having the 25 feet has made, based on the designs that he has presented to us so far, has made it very difficult.
You're gonna have,
Yeah, you do have a little bit more roof area, but once again, that's not to say that we're going to build all of them up to the limit. It just allows us to have a better mix of some of the designs. And more so those, the cul-de-sac, if you look at this cul-de-sac and that elbow, I reemphasize that because they're very small.
I have another question. How, if you took the extra 10 feet from your own property, how much is it going to add to the cost of your home?
How much would it add to the cost of the home? I mean, the home, if we could build it larger or closer, it's going to cost more. But
I'm talking about the extra 10 feet of property that, okay, you're saying you want 10 feet. So obviously you're asking us to give up 10 feet of our setback. If you need that extra 10 feet, what's going to cost the homeowner to purchase that extra 10 feet if you have to take it out of your own property?
There'd be 10 feet every lot. If it would be, well, depending on the design that we're going to put in that particular lot, it's not to say that we're actually going to build all the way up to there, but it gives us the ability to work with the different designs. Of course, the larger the house, the more it'll cost. The smaller the print, the less it'll cost, less value.
I have another question. Is it a two-car garage or one car?
We're
what about the
designing
duplex?
2-car garages on it, and then some will have a 1-car. Just depending. We haven't finalized all the prints yet.
If you used up your land for every one of these lots, you would use up 40 feet of your own land to expand.
If I'm seeing, okay, so you're taking every block, 10 feet out of every block.
Right.
Yeah, it would take out 10 feet.
So you don't want to lose 40 feet is what you're saying.
No, it would be equivalent of 600 square feet. Because you're 10 feet, and I think that's what Robbie was asking, 10 feet by the width of the lot, if they're average 60, you're taking 10 feet to add the, well, I think this question was, can I add the 10 feet in more property? And and then you can build that house 10 feet. You can still build that house 10 feet larger, but keep our 10 feet, how much will it cost the homeowner? And it would be whatever the cost of 600 square feet a lot.
I mean, if
And
you,
I don't know what that is.
yeah, of course, we're not running numbers here, but another way to look at it, it's usually you could yield maybe about 4.5 to maybe at most 5 lots per acre. So, you know, if you could build more lots, of course, that's a higher tax basis, higher income stream for the city. If you have to build less lots, then it's less of a value.
I guess the comment I have, I'm just looking at this, is how does this compare with this, this is the new city of Los Rendos on the east side of the city, and you got City Hall, the fire department, you got the new subdivision between City Hall and the rodeo around, so how does this subdivision compare with that of that between the City Hall and rodeo as far as size of homes and stuff? They're completely different. Are we talking apples to bananas or apples to apples?
It's I'm not sure if there's other exactly how big these other lots that are being developed. I know when we built Windcrest subdivision, those were a larger lot print. But once again, we had the mind of the higher income. There here we're looking more towards tailoring middle income to a high income as well, but just on a smaller print. We all know as developing these houses, you could take a big house, scale it down, and still have a great look to it.
Because of the size of the lots, it'll be the development that's already here is a little higher, probably more comparable to the Windcrest. And these lots, even though they're going to be a little bigger, would be more comparable to a Valle Alto and that kind of area. However, if you'll recall, those areas were 5,000 square foot lots. And quite a few years ago, the city changed the minimum to 6,000 and the reason why they did that is because of the parking, because probably what you were referring to with the size of the street. Because if you go to some of those areas, you can't hardly get up and down them because of the small lots. The city decided to go 60 foot, which poses other problems, is still having a lower income home but yet a larger lot. So it would still be a larger, you can't compare it exactly to Valle Alto, but somewhat to that area. Although each lot will be 10 foot wider. And I think that answers what he was saying a little bit. Right, Gil?
Yes. I'm just saying, we're trying to make our city attractive for the future. That's where people are going to come to this place and they're going to see right immediately a difference between the homes across, just our future and our attractiveness to incoming possible families.
Yes, sir. Yeah. We're looking at that as well. Once again, please understand, yeah, we also take pride in what we build. We're not looking at building just a small home and a box there.
And on these homes, is there going to be a privacy fence along that back or no?
We usually do put in a fence on some of the developments. On the rear part, we're not sure exactly how we're going to handle that yet. We're still trying to finalize some of the numbers, and that's what our engineers still working through as well.
And because as they're talking about here with these are going to be smaller homes, newer families starting out, generally going to have kids, and that's going to be kind of a restrictive backyard, not able to do much back there.
And we do have that in mind. That's the reason why when we're working with Stanford on it, we don't want to restrict the backyard to them, but it gives us some options to play with for people coming into our office looking for a size of this lot with a nice home on it. So hence the request for the variance.
The other question I have, having lived in a community When I first got married, we were starting out, both my wife and myself, with our careers. We lived in Brownsville in one of the newer communities. Now it's an older one, and just looking at this plan here, you know, I just feel like, and I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to maximize the amount of land and building for value and blah blah blah. But I just like Gordy said, you have families moving in. They want a backyard where the kids can play, the front yard to play in, and it may be a 2-car family, and they have barely any room to park both cars, so they got parked on the street with kids playing all over the place. I just looking at the plot here, that's a zillion homes in 1 mile of land, and that's just an exaggeration, but that's what I see, you know.
Fair point, Commissioner.
And that's what I see around here and everywhere else where you have, like in San Antonio, where it's really expanded, they have a zillion homes in 1 mile of land and barely enough land for each house. I have cousins that live up in San Antonio and they think it's great, but you know, back a few years ago, houses had land, you know, so they could enjoy it. And I'm just looking at the picture here. I just see a whole bunch of homes in a little piece of land, and that's my comment. It's just a commentary. And going back to the setbacks, you're chopping more on the piece of land that these people, and you're saying middle class to lower class, or lower socioeconomic, and these people are going to think it's great, but you know, that's my comment.
We've taken this type of print, if I may, Commissioner, and I understand, thank you for that point there. In other cities, like in Brownsville, we also have a development, something similar to this, and the houses that we're building there are great. The families are loving the designs that we're building for them. You know, so we're trying to bring that concept once again into other cities, and one of them that we got here is here in Fresno. As I've said, we really do believe in the vision of the city, so we're still investing into it. And we'd like to bring that concept here and have a nice development. Once again, we try to control everything via deed restrictions as well, you know, for the type of home that they're going to build, because we want it to look nice. We don't want to have fences up in the front. We don't want to have something that people are going to drive in and see a low-income housing development. We want to have more of a middle income to a higher income, just on a smaller scale than what we've done with the Waycrest subdivision.
My comment was, it was more directed towards, we're a growing city here and we want to attract, and the more like the gas line, that liquid gas coming in, SpaceX, the port expanding, a hodgepodge of areas.
Correct. And if I may, just indulge me just for a minute, just to that point, it's kind of the way I can compare that, Commissioner, is, you know, like what's going on with the electric vehicles right now. Everybody, of course, is real high, and they're saying, yeah, it's great with the electric vehicles, you know, but they forget that, you know, you still have your gasoline, people that can't afford those, you know. So we are going to have a great expansion and great people flocking to this area, but you're still going to have, you know, your average home builder that needs a place to live. And that's kind of what we have in mind. We don't want to forget about those people as well. Yet we want to have a nice subdivision, a nice development where it's going to complement the surrounding area. So we're not looking at undermining any future potential growth that the city has.
You said you've done this in Brownsville? Of the same size? Do you have pictures of that?
Sorry. Okay, yes, Commissioner, yeah, we do have, I mean, everything that, we have our sales team, in-house, obviously, and they take pictures. In fact, if you wanted to go online, you could probably look up Encino Homes and some of the houses that we built. It might have some of the older pictures.
Is that the name of the subdivision?
No, that's the name of the company that builds under Encino Homes.
You have a subdivision where these homes were built?
It is, that subdivision is, what's the name of that one? There's a San Felipe subdivision off of 281. And then I can't remember the name of the other subdivision, Commissioner. It's slipping my mind right now.
Well, if you give them, could you give them the mark and he can give them to us?
Sure.
Because I would like to ride around these subdivisions and see what they really look like.
Yeah, take a look. I mean, you could see some of the pictures, like I say, even online.
Good question.
I have one more question.
Your side setbacks are what on these lots? 6. So you take 60, you end up with 48.
48, yeah.
48, average 48. 48 times 50. You're looking, what's the minimum square footage that you're doing?
Well, once again, Commissioner, we're still working on the design. Some of the preliminary ones that we've seen are 1,500, 1,800.
Because, I mean, if you look at 4 times 5, you're looking at 2,000 square feet.
Yeah, we don't want to
That's
build a box, so we want to have some dimension to it.
Well, I mean, 2,000 square feet is pretty decent home.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I agree. And that's why we're trying to look and see. It's just the rear setbacks that make it difficult to work with. Once again, more so on the cul-de-sac lots and on those elbow lots is our main concern.
I have one question. How do these lots compare to Feather Ridge?
I would have to look, but
Well, we
Feather
have it
Ridge
right
or-
here. Let me get it. I'll get the plans out.
yeah, they're there. When I was talking to, what's the other guy's name? When I was talking to Steve about this, the 10-foot comes into play more when you deal with the duplex, which is the next item on the agenda. It doesn't, from what he explained to me, it doesn't deal as much with the single family dwellings as it does the duplex, which both of them together kind of complicate things. But I think there's, while the 10 does give you extra ways to get a nice home and a narrower and longer versus a wider and shorter home, the biggest piece to that puzzle is the next item on the agenda, which is have it all available for duplexes as well. And so with a duplex in there, that's when you really have tight on those lots without that 10 feet. And so if they were separate areas, then it could be, I think, a lot easier to make some decisions. But when you're not sure, the whole development is wants a blanket 10-foot variance, and the whole development wants a blanket. I can put a duplex here or there, even though they're going to have a architectural committee that would look at them and not put a duplex here and a single family home here and a duplex, but yet maybe in sections of it. So what I had talked to him about is, developing it that way, set up the development, maybe the backside in single-family homes, whereas the front side, behind the commercial area, the duplexes, which is kind of standard done as you go from a major highway, you have commercial and then maybe duplexes or apartments. And then as you get deeper into a development, you go into single-family homes. But putting all of that together, I think, is what complicates some of the things and what some of the questions you're asking.
Okay, can there be a master plan to see how it's gonna be laid out?
We can work if y'all would like to see which ones we're designating right now as our preliminary plan for duplexes. We can put something together. Yes, sir.
Mr. Marlam, I have another question. I mean, would this, given this variance, would this create a problem for other or future subdivisions? Like, given this variance?
When you give one variance,
Well, like you're giving that,
when you give one variance, then it's expected. And I don't mean that bad about even Feather Ridge. You know, when you first gave the variance on the cul-de-sac lots, well, then you kind of set a precedent that, well, we're saying that you can't fit those in the cul-de-sac lots. And so now it's kind of expected that you're going to give it on those cul-de-sac lots. If you would have said, no, make it work, the developer would have gone back and made lots bigger and done some different things in order to make that work. So from a city standpoint and staff point, yes, you give, the other item about a mobile home. Do you do that or do you not? I understand the old mobile home looks bad and this new one looks good. And so in concept, that's a great thing. But once you do one, then you're saying, well, okay, there's 4 others in that same block that they'll probably come and ask you to put a new one in there someday too. So yes, that it does. And so you have to make decisions based on that.
I don't know if I can offer.
To answer Robbie's question, looks like most of these lots are 8,000, 8,700, close to 9,000. And then, in the cul-de-sac, you have to get bigger because of the constraints there. Is a 10,000-foot lot versus right at 6,000 or so. So is that a problem? Not necessarily, because we need development that is the lots with 7, 8, and 9, 10,000 square foot lots. We also need them at 6 because the price point for people that can't afford that larger lot and doesn't want to take care of that larger lot. So do we need the 6,000s? Absolutely, we need those 6,000. Do we need the other ones that are 8 and 9? Yes, we do.
Go ahead, Gil. You were going to say something.
I'm just thinking at this point, I don't know, as a planning and zoning committee, I'm just wondering whether we should table this and just ask whether we get together on our own planning and zoning to discuss with Mark, like, what is our future? I mean, just to kind of get, like, one of our members here talked about a master plan. Kind of where are we going? Is this the right thing? I'm just throwing this out on the table.
I don't believe we can discuss afterwards because of the Open Meeting Act. I don't think we're allowed to gather and discuss it afterwards.
Yes, you could have an agenda. You could have an agenda item to discuss those things as a whole and entirety. You would be also inviting the public to come and listen. Do what? No, we couldn't do it in private. But yes, we could meet and discuss setbacks and how they affect different areas and
Well, and the reason I bring it up is just because you alluded to Valle Alto, and even though you said it's 10 feet wider, it's still, wow, it's when you drive in that area, it's just, and that's going to be what we're looking at more or less. I'm just saying, that's why I'm saying, are we all in agreement? That's kind of going to be what we want people to see as they go down 100 as we continue to grow. And yes, I hear you with 6,000. We need 6,000 square foot lots. We need 8,000. We need 10,000. But is this the place to do it? That's kind of what becomes nebulous to me.
I'd like to talk about the master plan or what's the vision for the whole area.
I don't know if Steve has provided anything like that. I mean, you probably don't have it, obviously, or if we don't have it if you all don't have a copy of that. We do own the balance of the 80 acres, but we don't have a master plan for that area. We have a plan, of course, for this development here.
Well, I think our concern is we don't want to see one group of tiny houses here and next door, big houses and tiny houses and big houses.
Well, I don't
small
think
lots.
their intention is tiny houses here. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you're not looking to build tiny houses here. You're looking to build nice homes. There's certainly going to be 3-bedroom homes in this facility, in this area.
Yeah.
And basically, all they're really asking for is a little more space in the back for these smaller lots.
My problem would be with the duplexes.
Okay.
The duplexes, mixing them up with nicer homes and, I'm not sure where you're going with that. Because I don't know where.
I guess if it pleases, the chairman and the commissioners, we can designate those that we want for sure as a duplex. But, our intent was that if it does work good for us, and we could always take the balance of those lots and also designate a section for it. We don't want to have a duplex lot here and right next to it have a residential house and then stagger them around. So our intent was, since we already built the commercial on the mini storage there, those lots abutting that area, since we think of it commercial, you want to think of duplex as somewhat commercial, then, we would have those lots designated right now. And that's what our intent is to do. So it's just those several within that block 1, and I forgot the other block.
Well, we're kind of getting off subject here. That's another agenda item.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That is another agenda item.
You have 80 other acres. I don't know why you can't expand 40 more feet into that 80 acres and expand all the lots by 10 feet.
Well, once again, we don't know what we're going to do with the balance of those 80 acres right there. I guess if the concern would be, and if it also pleases the chairman and the commissioner's board, we can, if y'all are concerned about the 15 setback on all lots, how about those within the cul-de-sac and the elbow? Those are really our main concern. Yeah, we're trying to do something more with those other lots, but if there's a real concern there, I'm sure the developer would be comfortable with
well, I haven't put it out there for a motion yet. I mean, I don't know that I'll get one.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, as maybe unless he would rather us either vote one way or another.
I mean, we can
do that, or you meet and we address some of those issues with some of those lots and I think there's two things. There's a problem with the 10 throughout, and then we haven't got to it, but I think because a little bit of comment is also the multifamily, or not the multifamily, two-family dwelling throughout. I don't think that there would be, it doesn't seem like there could be a problem with 10 feet in certain areas for certain reasons, but not blanket. And it seems like that they're saying that it could be duplexes in certain areas for certain reasons, but not a blanket approval for that. That's just what I've heard. And I don't know if you want to go down the road or make them, ask them to go ahead and vote which way they want to go on this. It doesn't matter to us.
Yeah.
Well, the item before us today is to talk about whether we're going to give you 15 feet instead of 25. And I mean, I can call for a motion and see how that turns out.
Chairman and board members, and I think we'll be okay if we can get those that are within the cul-de-sac and those elbow lots at the variance. You know, we'd be willing to accommodate the city outside.
Are we talking about 9 lots?
So we're looking at maybe the ones I'm looking at here, Commissioner, is on block 1, lots 1 through 4. And it looks like the ones that we would have troubles with on that same block would be 23 through 27, if I'm looking at this right. Yes.
Well, can we even vote on that tonight? On just those lots, or does it have to be resubmitted?
You don't have to vote on exactly what was done. You just couldn't do more that weren't listed. All of them were listed, so you couldn't. If we only listed a few and then you wanted to give more, then we would not have allowed the public to see that part. But since the variance was asked for all of it, the public knows and is aware, so giving only a few is okay, whereas giving more would be not. You understand what I'm saying?
Then can I make a motion to approve lot 1, 2, 3, 4 in block 1 and 23 to 27 and deny the rest of the lot?
You know, it might be better if you just resubmit the lots that you want, so that they're actually there. Tell us which ones you want. Looks like you do have some agreement here on that, and we just move on to the next item. Just table this one.
We can do that.
So can we just table this item until next meeting? Oh, okay. Well, we don't have. Okay.
Well, let me, if I may, Chairman and board members, will that hold us up another month?
Yeah, we only meet once a month.
Well, okay, if we could take that motion and get it approved, that, you know, I feel comfortable with that.
However y'all want to do it.
Yes, sir. I know the motion has been made, so I'm not sure we've got a second.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye. I voted for it.
Chairman, board members, thank you.
Motion passed. On the restricted lots, on the named lots.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. That's 9.
Okay, item number 7, consider an action on approved request for conditional use permits to allow duplex to be built on lots 1 through 38. Block 1, lots 1 through 35, block 2, lots 1 through 19, block 3, lots 1 through 4, block 4 in the proposed Encino Crossing subdivision.
And I think we've discussed that a little bit already. So staff's problem is that, it makes it wide open on which ones are done. And so that's all our concern was.
Questions regarding this item, Chairman and Commissioner?
You basically just want to choose where you put the duplexes within this subdivision
We want to control them via the deed restrictions, yes, sir.
and the amount.
And the amount, yes, we don't want to sell a lot and then allow somebody to build a duplex where we have not designated that we want to have duplexes built. Like I say, the only reason for our approach this way is so that way, if we decide that, this works great, of course, for us, I know, for the city, when we want to build on a different block, we could always do so and designate another section of it without having to come to.
But you're still basically asking for a variance for the whole subdivision.
For the whole subdivision, yes.
Question to the city, Mr. City Manager? On these lots, are they zoned single family or are they zoned multifamily?
They're zoned single family right now.
So he's asking for a variance to change the zoning.
No, he's asking for conditional use. There's a clause in our ordinance that allows for conditional use for 2-family in this area.
But they're zoned for single family.
They are zoned for single family. When it was annexed many, many years ago, it was zoned residential. When they built that, it was the store more and the little office spaces. It was that was rezoned to commercial.
What was rezoned commercial?
Where the store more and the little office complexes are.
Let me ask a question if I may. Do we want to designate some of them right now so that we don't know exactly what we plan on doing the duplexes for conditional use? And if we decide to do some similar concept on another block, we would have to come up for the commission of doing, right? Would we have to come to the commission for the board again for approval on those other lots? If we just designate some right now, right? Okay. Once again, if I may, we can designate some within the block 1 and block 2 as duplex if you like to see which ones that we are intending on doing that right now. Please,
This the one that we just had a discussion about the setbacks, all these lots? And then you have them all for duplexes?
I don't think that we should, the cul-de-sacs and making that change from what was requested is I think it's fine because there's a precedent out there. At this late time, changing from all of them to now some of them, I think it's best that they just decide that and come back at the next meeting. Because there's a lot of considerations that we need to take into account for. And then I did notice the next item just now that it includes the final plat. And so the drainage district hasn't got to us on the final detention and drainage. So we don't need to approve the final plat anyway. So I don't know. I'm just not comfortable right now with this going all different directions. I would just rather them come back to us. They got approval on the 10 feet on the cul-de-sacs, come back to us with some specific things that they want, and then including the drainage that you mentioned, so that there's no question. So that's my recommendations. Take no action on the next two items.
How many duplexes are we talking about?
Well, there's
Well,
They never said.
yeah, we have a preliminary concept of where we want to have this right now. Commissioner, we have allocated or decided to look at possibly within that block 1 and possibly across the street within that block 2 is where we want to have those designated. Once again, if the concept works good, then we decide and hey, we'd like to do this on block the other balance of block 2 and then maybe block 3, we could do so at a later date. But if the concern is, as y'all have stressed, we could always go back and present a plan to you all.
I'd just like to make a comment. In Brownsville, there is a subdivision across from Burns Elementary. And you have duplexes and you have single family homes there. And just thinking back on that, I mean, if I lived in that area and I lived in a single home and it's surrounded by duplexes, it'll be hard for me to sell because the value of my home, because you have transient people moving in and out. If someone wants to buy that home, what value will I have or will I get from my home if they see all this? And the yards aren't well kept. So just considering the people across the street where you have block 4 and you want to make that into duplexes and block 1 into duplexes across the street, you have single family homes, and they choose to buy there and down the road, they want to sell their homes. What value are they going to have or get for their homes when you have duplexes across the street?
Well, and that's what the Commissioner, that's
For me, the bottom line is the value of a home. If I'm a particular building, I want everybody to keep the value, my home to keep the value and grow. And it won't with duplex.
Valid point, I understand, yes. I mean, you can have a nice design on a duplex based on some of the preliminary designs that we've seen from the architect that's presented to us. And of course, the looks that you put on the outside of the house. But that is a valid point, we understand. If, like I said, the chairman and the board, members, commissioners, go, please, we could go back and look at that allocation of where we would like to have those and give you all a clear picture of what our intent is.
Okay, and number 7, it has, the way I read it, is that you can put duplexes on every single block, on every single lot. So you're saying that whole subdivision is going to be all duplex.
It
That's
could
how
be.
that's how it's worded.
Yes, that's how it's worded, and it could be. And that was a staff's question from the beginning, and Steve is not here this evening, but he's the one who insisted that that's what they wanted. And we told them that there would be issues with that because you wouldn't know which ones are which and confusion on that, but they insisted on moving forward. And with the discussion, I can see it is confusing. So I still say let's take no action on 7 and 8 and let them come back with some more clear direction, because that's what not only we wanted, but it's now evident that that's what this board wants. And
I motion no action.
the chairman can just take no action if he chooses.
We can't go on to number 8 because you don't have the drainage district's approval on it. Okay. This meeting's adjourned.